Hey, welcome back to the Hotel Orloff. It's episode 900. It's January the 9th, 2023, in the year of our Lord, and we're here to look at comic books, magazines, records, popular culture, lowbrow culture. This is the Hotel Orloff. So, we're in the middle of a major winter storm outside. So come along with me and let's see what it looks like outside. Did another show early this morning. Now it's a little bit late. It's Alex Jones o'clock. It's 11:10. 11 o'clock a.m. is Alex Jones o'clock. That's when his show starts. So we call it Alex Jones o'clock here in Rural Retreat, Virginia, where the Hotel Orloff broadcasts to you in color all the time, ladies and gentlemen. I put on my glasses because it's bright outside with all the snow. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God. Oh my God. A lot of snow. Do you see that? Man. That's something else, man. How about that? How about this, ladies and gentlemen? Oh my gosh. Let's go out for a minute and see what it feels like out here. Oh man. Oh man. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Well, so they canceled work today, so I'm here filming. We're going through some magazines. Hey, I just found my Marvel Planet of the Apes collection, so I'm really very happy. Magazine collection, very happy about that. Still missing All Star Comics 58, man. Glad that the Planet of the Apes have not disappeared in the move because in addition to being my childhood sacred copies, the moronic CGC slabbing crowd. I saw an episode where, are those footprints? Yeah, I think that the mail has come. Should I try to go get the mail? Oh man. Anyway, the slabbing morons are all speculating. I saw a show this guy was talking about. I need to speculate on Planet of the Apes #1 because they're making another Planet of the Apes movie. Yeah, right. Like, anyway, I guess I'll try to get the mail. We're gonna do it. No. Oh boy. Feet are going down deep in the snow, man. Oh boy. I think the mail came. It better be. Let's see. Okay, snow's not as deep here. Yeah, I can see where the mailman cut through here. See, the snow's pretty deep. That's Is there any mail in here? Yes, a lot of mail. Another Nikki ad for this Nikki Haley idiot. I went all the way through this snowstorm to get an ad for that stupid Nikki Haley. Oh my gosh. maybe a chance they'll cancel work again tomorrow, in which case we can go through even more funny books. Oh, man. Got snow all over my shoes, man. Let's see what we got. I went all the way there for that, for some all advertisements. Nikki Haley, make your voice heard that you want to go to war and be drafted. Let's see what this one is. Who is this advertising? Oh, this is wonderful. This is a Donald Trump ad. Had enough of Joe Biden? And, yes, indeed. Hold on. See, it says, let's make America great again. Very good. I save all those ads, man. Someday that'll be a historic, something historic, man. Guess I'll take my shoes off. So, how are you guys doing? We have a jukebox out here on the porch. Oh, man. Look at this snow. It is quite spectacular, ladies and gentlemen. So, well, okay, let me take my shoes off. Dang it. It's 29 degrees outside. It is now 11:16 a.m. January 9th, 2020. I'll leave the coat on because it's cold on that porch.
Bring my blood tests every few years and also get EKGs and things on my heart. And I noticed that at both facilities, the hottest thing.
Alex Jones makes me feel fine. Rolling through the jasmine in my mind is Jones. All right, Marvel magazines. Some comic collectors look down upon them. Like CGC idiots look down on us and say we collect raw comics. There are some people that collect comics that look down on people that collect the magazines. And so for that reason, Boba Fett first appeared in a Marvel magazine. Hello, but these comic book people say no. Boba Fett first appeared in color comic book. That's just not true, ladies and gentlemen. It's just incorrect. And I'll prove that to you here today on the Garage Orloff television program. All right, let's see what we got here. Last episode, we looked at my Dracula Lives collection. Even though, man, I swear there's a couple Dracula Lives missing there. And we looked at Haunt of Horror. I think the last one we looked at was this issue of Haunt of Horror number 5. This is, of course, her name is Satana, and she's the devil's daughter. And she's the sister of the son of Satan, who's a superhero. But Satana was like a Marvel attempt to, clone Vampirella. And then they also had Lilith, who was another clone of Vampirella, and she's Dracula's daughter. So you have Dracula's daughter, and you have the devil's daughter. What? What? What is this? A horror.
It's like a new lease on life. Get it now at InfoWarsStore.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2 years in the making. We didn't plan it like this. We didn't know. To release Alex Jones' dual
Wait, I guess I don't have the first issue of Vampire Tales. I remember it had a red cover, and I always saw it in the ads, the house ads. Um, but
150 million users a week are already shot to number one.
yeah, I get confused here.
Game.com or search Alex Jones' dual warlord Epstein
Oh wow, that snow's really blowing out there. Anyway, this I just can't understand the people that slab their comics and they can never look at them. I just don't get it, man. I keep going on about it. Just a minute. I'm gonna go in the other room and punch a wall. I'm so angry about CGC.
Came out in the 1970s. The CIA for decades put out ugly art, ugly culture to make it depressed. It thinks that you're ugly and not letting you connect to God. We show you beautiful art. We were just doing, you were watching us on TV, of human potential and what we are going to build through God inspiring us together. Anything we can imagine over time, we do. What Jules Verne's 150 years ago envisioned all came true.
I feel better now. I punched my fist right through the sheetrock and plaster of. Anyway, I feel so. Gosh, Drew, I'm just thinking. I feel really sorry for that mailman that had to trudge through that snow, man. Okay. Hold on a moment. It's hard to balance the light behind me with the light in front of me because otherwise I just become a dark shadow of myself. Sorry, I should have done all this balancing before I began the show. The dog is barking. What is the matter, the dog? She had breakfast. What's up, the dog? Okay, she is now licking her lips, meaning she wants to consume food. So we go in the other room. Yeah, that really does look like a postcard. Oh, man. So how are you guys doing on this snowy day? How are you guys doing in all the snow? I think snow's like all over the country. It's gotta be that gosh darn stuff that you're not supposed to talk about on YouTube. Stuff that Al Gore told us about. Right, it's gotta be that, right? It's never snowed before during January in the history of mankind.
Standardized UN, Bill Gates funded global policy of the world standard to be used for a social credit score, carbon tax, vaccine passport,
All right.
universal income. And they'll want you to go along with all of it and accept it because they'll get you.
All right, Drew, here's some
resources and energy.
wonderful, nutritious, fine cuisine.
This tiny little salary
I was
you accept.
cut off last episode. I was telling you. Oh, shit! I mean, shoot. Pardon me. I was
only gets what it's fed,
telling you
decides it's going to end.
something, and then the camera shut off.
Especially young people,
Ah,
just at show, they don't want to know how to farm on average.
I was telling you
They don't even want a relationship.
that yesterday
They're being
on this program,
obsolescent. They're being
I'm dizzy,
obsolete because people wanting to
that I was talking about
systems are diametrically
the old days when there were midnight movies that played at the local
overripe.
movie theater, and I mentioned Rocky Horror Picture Show, and then this morning while I was in the shower, I'm thinking about that song, the Time Warp, and the first time I heard that was watching Siskel and Ebert, and they were reviewing Rocky Horror Picture Show and how it had become a phenomenon in the late 70s when I first discovered that show on PBS, and they played a clip from it. And that was the first time I heard any of the music from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And they talk about misheard lyrics and how washing the dog food off my hands before I handle magazines. Apparently they're singing "Let's Do the Time Warp Again," but I've always heard it in my head, "Let's do the time of day." They're singing, "Let's do the time of day." That's what I always heard. What do you think, Alan? Alan thought the same thing. That's like a... Alex Jones is younger than I am. I used to really be into Howard Stern in the 90s. I thought he was great, and he was great. It's just a shame how the mighty have fallen. It really is a shame. Oh, well. What can you do about it? Nothing. Nothing, I tell you. Okay, I'm mounting you on the rungs of a ladder. Okay, this should be fine. Yes, indeed. So, snow. Vampire Tales. And then the dog comes back. I'm afraid she's gonna attack my books. I am thinking I have the first issue of Vampire Tales, or don't I? Anyway, I don't know. What issue is this? There was Vampire Tales, there was Dracula Lives, there was Monsters Unleashed were the main horror ones, and then there was also Tales of the Zombie. They don't have the issue number on the cover. It is number 5, June of 1974. June of 74, okay. All right, so it came out at the end of my 3rd grade year. June of 74 would be the summer before 4th grade. This is not my childhood copy. Weird. What is that, man? What am I seeing here? What? I'm trying to figure something out. Anyway, I'm confused by this one-page strip here on the inside back cover. There's an ad for Morbius. Morbius was a cool character in the 70s, but in the 90s, I think they ruined the character in Marvel Comics. Like everything was ruined in the 1990s, and then they made a movie about a year or two ago that was just god awful, and so now no one cares about the character. But for a while, people were really speculating on. This looks like Galassi art. Just, no, Val Mayrick. Yeah. Val Mayrick was a great artist, although that car looks like it was drawn by a 6-year-old. But the art is wonderful. I can't draw cars very well either, Val. Oh, here's some of that great Gil Kane art. Stan Lee liked to give the guys in the bullpen and the few gals in the couple of gals in the bullpen little nicknames, like they're on a Major League Baseball team. Jazzy John Ramita and all that. And Gil Kane, I had forgotten. It's like in an issue of Tales to Astonish, in one of the Hulk story, the first Hulk story where they introduced the Abomination. It's like it's like Gil Sugar Lips Kane, and it's like, why did you give him the nickname Sugar Lips, man? I don't know. Ooh, man, look, wow. The great thing about Gil Kane drawing Morbius is you really get up the nostrils. Gil Kane liked to draw like people, like shots where you could see up the nostrils. And of course, Morbius has a nose shaped like that, where it's like, it's so weird. I think Gil Kane's great. Gil Kane's become a running joke on the Four Color Fossil show. Because Graphic Man, the host and creator of the Four Color Fossils show, is not a big fan of Gil Kane, and other people on the show like to show Gil Kane art, and then he'll set off an alarm, the Gil Kane alarm. You got to tune in Wednesday night to the Graphic Man channel, Graphic Man, here on the YouTube app. Anyway, this is Vampire Tales. This is a story, script by Roy Thomas, art by Alan Kupperberg and Dick Giordano. They'd always have a photo from a old horror movie, and then they'd go to a story usually. And then they would have text stories where it would look very much like Famous Monsters of Filmland. This is all about Count Yorga. They made a couple of Count Yorga vampire movies in the early 70s. And there's an ad for Crazy Magazine when they did the parody of Shaft. Oh my gosh. That's why there's no Comics Code Authority on these magazines. That guy's getting his brain shot out. That's and it's in a Morbius story. My gosh, lots of violence. It's getting a different perspective on comic book history recently. There's a guy that ran one of the first comic book stores that's on Facebook. He's writing a history of comics and comic stores. His name is Bob Bierbaum. I think I'm pronouncing it right. He's a really interesting guy. He has a lot of perspective. He is not a big fan of Stan Lee, and he's not a big fan of Roy Thomas either. But he knows a lot about comic history and how the direct market started, which is, because he opened a comic store in San Francisco, and the underground comics were the first direct distributed comics. They were directly distributed mostly to head shops, places like that, or to these early comic stores. And then later, because that worked, the direct I always feel like I need to explain a little to people that are getting into things. Um, Comics and magazines like this were sent to newsstands. The ones that didn't sell were they'd get credit for it. You know, they'd get money back, and a lot of times they'd tear the cover off, send the cover back, or just this part. And but so any unsold copies, the store would get compensated for them. Direct distribution means that the comic store or whatever store buys the books outright and they can't return them. Anything that doesn't sell, you're stuck with it. Maybe in 5, 6 years, or maybe in a couple of months, it'll become valuable and sought after by collectors and you can sell it, but you don't have any guarantee. But that when comic stores started to spread all over the country in the late 70s, the direct distribution thing became a big deal, and comics were distributed directly to comic stores, and some were still sold on newsstands. They were marked differently, but pretty soon all the newsstands stopped carrying comic books, and they used to be in every 7-Eleven stop and go everywhere where comic books, and kids could get to them. But once they were only distributed to comic stores, kids stopped reading comics because they weren't around where they were, and most kids didn't go into a comic store. That would be, social S. I don't want to say that word on YouTube because I don't think they like that word. Oh, that's really cool. Looks like John Romita has drawn Satana, the Devil's Daughter. So this is an ad for Vampire Tales. Oh, Vault of Horror was the sequel to Tales from the Crypt. Is it still snowing out there? It's just blowing around. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking. Oh, Bob Bierbaum. He knows a lot about things. Right now, I think he's found out he's ill, but he's still working and trying to get all his book finished and everything. He was talking, because he was kind of a hippie, and he was talking about how the comics, the Overstreet Price Guide, made a decision that they were not going to list underground comics in their guide. Because underground comics were very offensive to normal people, which is ironic because they were read by hippies, and now the liberals now and are so sensitive and get offended so easily, and yet those underground comics were extremely offensive, and yet they were enjoyed. This is a Jim Steranko story, but this was first printed in a color comic. This is a reprint, but it's nice to see the original black and white art. It had been printed maybe just a few years before that. Oh yeah, this is a John Romita. Yeah, this Satana story has art by John Romita. Very gorgeous art. And she was not a hero like Vampirella was a heroine. Satana is just plain evil. And there's great art in these magazines, and I was just looking on mycomicshop.com's website after I filmed this morning's show, and the prices on these old Marvel magazines aren't that high, although Marvel previews, there's a few that are really high. I'll show you here in a minute, or maybe in the next episode. I don't know when I'll show them to you. At some point soon. Oh, the story here's by Gardner Fox. Art by Jesus Blasco and John Romita. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Whole article on Bela Lugosi. Okay, you can tell this is 1950s pre-code horror. They would give you a little bit of pre-code horror, and here's a Morbius story. Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, Morbius had a run in the Color Comics and also in this Vampire Tales magazine. He premiered in the Spider-Man comic, The Amazing Spider-Man. It's it's really the only Spider-Man comic, so I call it Spider-Man. I don't acknowledge the other one. I mean, I guess I do. I mean, it'd be too much of a curmudgeon, but Amazing Spider-Man is the real Spider-Man comic. It's the one that people, normal people, really collect. Okay, this is a very nice cover. Very nice. So, Satana and Morbius were the main stars of this magazine. Should I open up all of them? That's issue 3. I don't think these are in the right order. Yeah, these aren't in the right order. This is a beautiful cover. Beautiful, I tell you. Now, Satana's outfit changed and became more outrageous. And as they tried to make her more like Vampirella from Warren, they gave her this probably supposed to be like goat fur, and then that's supposed to be like hooves, I guess. Yeah. Morbius. Oh, and then here they they get into apocryphal biblical lore about Lilith being the first wife of Adam. There's the angels, and it's like because Lilith was the other character. Now this looks very much like a Warren magazine here because it's obviously a Spanish artist. In fact, I don't remember. It's probably, I think it's one of the Warren artists. Who is this? Esteban Maroto, or Esteban Maroto. I've always pronounced it as Esteban Maroto, but lately someone seemed to like say it's really pronounced Esteban. I think it's Esteban. Yeah, Esteban. Yeah. Tony Isabella. So this is and is the writer. Esteban Maroto is the artist, and they're adapting August Derleth. So yeah, this looks very Warren-like because he. And then you can tell this is pre-code horror from the early 50s, 20 years before. Big Mike. Oh boy. Say it isn't so, Michelle Obama. The Vampire's Coffin. This was an ad for the 3rd issue of Crazy. I was telling you last episode that Crazy started. The early issues of Crazy were great. I mean, look at that. It's Marie Severin drawing the Waltons, Marie Severin drawing Clint Eastwood. Can you ask for anything more? Lots of stories about vampires. That's why it's called Vampire Tales. That's also pre-code horror. You can immediately identify the stories that are reprints. Paul Reinman was the original artist. I think the title could be changed. That doesn't look like 1950s writing, but the art is 1950s. So, what is this? What is this here? Excuse me. What was that? Notes on a piece I don't want to write. Really? Okay, they're referring to DC as the deadly competition. Oh, man. Lots of blood in these black and white horror magazines. Has someone put out like an omnibus? Oh, art by Tom Sutton. He's great. Uh, did a lot of work for Charlton, and also some of my favorite comic art in the history of mankind is in Not Brandak, and it's Tom Sutton and Marie Severin working together. What a great pair. I don't know if you want to see me open every one of these magazines. Vampire Tales, wonderful. Okay, also in this magazine was Lilith, who's the other Vampirella clone, and she's the daughter of Dracula. I just don't want to open all of them, or this will take forever. Here's one that's not bagged and boarded, so we can open this one. Yes, it's kind of fun to do this show out on the porch. I've been reminded, hey, you were in the middle of showing your DVD collection and everything, and I said, well, yeah, but that's down in the basement, and I want to watch the snow because I grew up mostly in Texas, and when we lived in Germany, when I was a little kid, we saw snow, but anyway, another issue of Vampire Tales. This is number 8, and these are not in order, but I will get them into order, I promise you. Here's number 10 with Morbius. Here's number 11. This satanic church is about to sacrifice Morbius. I got that ring light just really not doing a good job. It's bringing ring light. It's right up in my grill. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Nick Cardy cover, beautiful. Land That Time Forgot. This is the movie adaptation from, what would it be, about 1975, when they adapted the Edgar Rice Burroughs book, The Land That Time Forgot. They didn't do stop motion animation. That was like a glider, this pterodactyl. Some of the monsters look better than others. Anyway, it's just I prefer the stop motion animated dinosaurs. Anyway, this is the Marvel Comics adaptation of the film. It's trust me, the movie didn't look like that, but I didn't. We were in the middle of a move from San Antonio to near Seattle. When I bought this, one of the last things I bought before the move, so I didn't get to see the movie in theaters. I saw it later when it premiered on television. I read the magazine, and later I read the book, but the movie doesn't look like the way it's drawn. Here's this is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This was Marvel's adaptation of Close Encounters, and we are not alone. Yes, so she also didn't look like that in the movie. Anyway, this is let's see how they draw the aliens at the end. Oh man, they don't even. You know what? Because this came out before or right about the time of the movie. They don't even show what the aliens look like. I bet they kept it. They show the big reveal of the mothership. But I bet when they gave pre-production stills to Marvel to make this, they didn't want them to see what the aliens look like. Because, like, it shows the aliens coming there, but, that's about the most you see of the aliens, these gray shadows, and them leading him into the spaceship. Then about a couple years later, Spielberg came and added scenes into the movie, and where you see him go into the ship, and and it was unnecessary. Yeah, he's not drawn to look anything like Richard Dreyfuss. But this, about the only collectible you could get at the time that Close Encounters came out, besides the soundtrack and the novelization in paperback, was that comic book. Here's the Jaws 2 adaptation, which came out at the same time as the sequel to the Kiss book. And yeah, the Jaws 2 was not a good movie. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. In fact, I don't remember anything about Jaws 2 at all. Like, nothing. Who draws this? Yeah, Jaws 2. I was thinking about sequels, bad sequels, Spielberg kept his word and never did a sequel to E.T. the Extraterrestrial. That's one good thing you'd say about him. I think this was Jaws 2. I'm pretty sure was done over. I don't think he had the clout at that time to demand that they not do a Jaws 2. But I was thinking about Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, and I was thinking there was a great movie. It was just like Mad Magazine came to life, and it was called Airplane. And then a few years later, there was a really terrible movie. They got all the original people back, but it wasn't the same creators. It wasn't the same writers, directors. And it was called Airplane 2, the sequel. It was god-awful. But some people laughed at it. It's the same jokes over from the first movie, and so they laugh because they're seals and they clap at anything. But to me, Donald Trump is Airplane, and Ron DeSantis is Airplane 2, the sequel. Here's Warriors of the Shadow Realm. This was a sequel to a comic in one of those Marvel Spotlight, one of those color comics called Weird World. And it was, Marvel trying to do Lord of the Rings, but it was Mike Plug art. And this is his sketches, and this is the, wow. It's just beautiful. And look, it even has a fold out. Or does it? Yeah, sure does. How does this work? How does the fold out work? Or is the page just miscut? What? I don't know what the deal is with that. Here's a 2-page spread. Why was there a... What is going on with this? There's a page here that's shorter. I thought it was going to be a fold out. Oh. This is where it's the other part of this fold out. It's not one of those kind of fold outs, trust me. It's just a fold out of all this. This is really neat stuff. I mean, I guess about that time, they knew that Ralph Bakshi was making an animated film of Lord of the Rings, and The Hobbit had been on television, and a Rankin Bass animated musical of The Hobbit. So Marvel wanted a piece of the action, so they created Weird World. And they're promoting Marvel's heavy metal imitation was going to be called Epic Illustrated, and that was coming out. So this is not Mike Plug, though. This is John Buscema, and then Peter Ledger painted it, and Rudy Nebris rendered it. The comic book was Mike Plug, but it's beautiful. What can I tell you? That's part 2, and then there's part 3. Just, like Lord of the Rings, it's 3 parts. Although, Tolkien didn't mean for Lord of the Rings to be three parts. He intended that to be one big book, but it would have fallen apart, and it would have felt like an omnibus, book you can't read. So the book company convinced him, kind of bent his arm behind his back, and said, "Hey, you need to put this out as three books: Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King." Anyway, this is more Weird World. I can't get out of my head that horrible girl that plays, that was in West Side Story, that's the new Snow White for Disney. And she was just so snarky in an interview, We're not going to be like that in 1937. The original movie was made in 1937, and it's so obvious. It's like today, a girl wouldn't just fall in love with some guy just because he's stalking her. And then she turns to the camera and goes, "Weird, weird, weird, weird." I can't, she makes such a weird, weird, just a horrible face, making fun of the original Disney classic. So lately I've just been going around going weird, weird, I think it annoys my wife, but it's stuck in my head. Her stupid weird, weird. This is Meteor, which I guess they did a pretty good promotional campaign and fooled people into thinking a movie was actually going to look like that, and it was going to be a disaster movie. There's Sean Connery in it and everything, and everyone thought, wow, it's going to be like unbelievable. It actually was, I think, Roger Corman production. And I don't remember really seeing all these scenes of destruction. It seemed like it was a pretty. When I saw the movie, it had Natalie Wood and Sean Connery in it. I guess that's the whole budget was spent hiring them. I don't know. I need to see it again. I haven't seen it since I was in the theater with my mom watching that. Here's the Star Trek the Motion Picture adaptation. Behold, the next plateau, the glory and the grandeur that only Marvel could create. Oh, there's that Ledger guy that was painting Weird World. Yep. They did this in this format, and then they also did it in a color comic format. But this came out first. Then they did the serialized color comic. This is Marvel Super Special 15. The first Star Trek movie, which was a big deal when it came out. Marv Wolfman, script editor. Dave Cockrum and Klaus Janson are the artists. The art is serviceable. It's not great, but it's not horrible like the art of comics today. Okay, I can guarantee you 100% this is the first appearance by months of your beloved Boba Fett. It's the first appearance of Yoda and anyone else that first appeared in The Empire Strikes Back, because I bought this off the rack and it came out 5 or 6 days before maybe a week. I think it was more like a few days before The Empire Strikes Back came out. This magazine came out. So, therefore, you could read it and you could ruin it for everybody and say, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, all that stuff. So, but the one that everyone wants to slab, and the one that's super valuable, is the Star Wars part of the ongoing color comic Star Wars, which just adapted this into 3 parts. I'm running low on the battery of the camera, so I'm going to have to probably turn off that ring light and plug in my phone. Anyway, this is the reason this is so great is it's art by Al Williamson. So, Al Williamson and Carlos Garzón. Okay. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Just a moment. This phone's about to expire from lack of electricity. Yeah. 100%. That magazine is the first appearance of Boba Fett. Anyone that tells you anything different is a liar and an idiot and doesn't know anything, which is the way most people on YouTube are about comic books. You know, they show off all their slabbed comics. They've never seen the inside of the comic. They're go back to collecting Furbies or Beanie Babies or baseball cards or whatever you used to collect. Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is an early example of them not wanting to put a swastika on a cover. That's interesting. I've got a Red Skull painted statue that his armband looks more like that and not the S word that you're probably not supposed to say on YouTube. The art in this is really not very good, especially after seeing Al Williamson on The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, who is this? Watch it be someone I love. Yeah, well, it's John Buscema on pencils, but Klaus Janson is messing up. Like Klaus Janson is not doing John Buscema any favors. Looks like, I don't know. Is Klaus Janson someone I like? I don't remember before. I'm probably insulting someone that I really like, and I'm sorry if that's the case, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't matter. I mean, that's just clearly not very good art. It looks like something that would be in one of those Dynamite comics that comes out today. Is that the name of the company that puts out Red Sonja and Vampirella? It's just very pedestrian art. Okay. The movie was great. This comic adaptation isn't that great. Well, here's Conan the Barbarian. So, is that the right order? I thought Raiders of the Lost Ark came out before Conan? I guess so, because that was issue 18. This is 21. All right. The art here is clearly better, and it's going to be John Buscema that did the art, but let's see who did the pencils, the inks over him. Okay. Oh, John Buscema adapted, penciled, and inked it. And then Michael Fleischer came in and wrote the script after basically put in the words. So basically, John Buscema adapted it, and Fleischer came in and basically put in the final words, like Stan Lee used to do in the Marvel method. Here's an article on Ron Cobb and how he designed the everything in the movie. It's weird to see. It was a little weird. I mean, because Conan the Barbarian was a code-approved comic, but then there was also Savage Sword of Conan that was more violent. And then you have this R-rated movie, a very R-rated movie, and then, you know, you've got this comic magazine adapted from it. They did a good job, John Milius, of world building, you know, as far as like inventing languages and glyphs and whatever you call them. That was a good movie, Conan the Barbarian. All right, so that's 21. Okay. Then we're up to Return of the Jedi in summer of '83, and I think that, you know, they bring Al Williamson back for this. And again, this, oh, I've got a toy of him in the other room. This was put out first when the movie came out. Art by Al Williamson, Charles Garzon, Tom Palmer, and Ron Friends. They had 4 people doing the art. Ron Friends, so he's the guy that channels Kirby. He did a lot of Thor comics in the 90s that actually kind of look like 1960s Thor. Okay, that same summer, that was issue 27, and this one's 33, but no, it wasn't the same summer. That's the summer of 83. This is the summer of 84. Yeah, this is a summer later when Buckaroo Banzai came out, which was yeah, he was in a rock band, and he had he's basically Doc Savage. This is the scene at the end where they all are marching along to the Buckaroo Banzai theme. Yeah, I forgot there was a Marvel adaptation of this. It's a fun movie, totally forgotten by almost everyone. I don't know how you could see it now unless you have it on physical media, on DVD. I don't know if they ever put it out on Blu-ray. I doubt it's on any streaming service. Then maybe a year later, you've got Dune. Looks like it's Howard Chaykin who adapted the original Star Wars movie. Good. What was that? That must have been a big amount of snow that fell, making a big thud. It must have fallen on top of this porch. Scared the heck out of me. Adapted by Ralph Macchio. Every time I see that name, I think Karate Kid, but I don't think it's the same. Art by Bill Sienkiewicz. It's not pronounced that way. Sienkiewicz. I don't know how to pronounce it, honestly. He that page was pretty easy to draw. Yeah, he's different from Howard Chaykin, but it's the same kind of scratchy kind of art. I mean, he's good. Here's Masters of Terror. Cover to cover horror, 76 pages of mounting menace by the modern day Masters of Terror. Robert E. Howard, Robert Bloch, H.P. Lovecraft, August Derleth. I think it's, let me see if I'm not mistaken. I think these are reprints. What are the stories? It by Theodore Sturgeon. Yes, I think that was a reprint from Worlds Unknown. The Terrible Old Man by H.P. Lovecraft. The Drifting Snow by August Derleth. I think that was from one of those magazines I showed you last episode, like either Vampire Tales or something like that. Here's truly Jack the Ripper. Yeah, that was it. These are all reprints from Color Comics. This is towards the end of, maybe this one isn't, because this, no, it's going to be a reprint. Yeah, that's a reprint. Yeah, these are all reprints from Color Comics. All right. Here's the first issue of Monsters Unleashed. This was an important comic to me. I've got another. I've got 2 of them. This other one is not bagged and boarded, so we can look at that. As I recall, at this the first issue of Vampire Tales came out. First issue of Vampire Tales, Dracula Lives, Monsters Unleashed. I think they all came out at the same time, like in a wave, almost like an assault, like storming of the beaches of Normandy against Warren Publishing. Marvel released a bunch of magazines at the same time, and I think Tales of the Zombie might have been right about that same time. Early 1973, very early 73. But this is Monsters Unleashed #1. Let's see if I'm right on that date. 73. It doesn't give a time. Yeah, but anyway, Monsters Unleashed was. Oh, look at this. World of Warlocks. Script Gardner Fox and Roy Thomas. Art Gene Colan. Um, so this is going to be a sword and sorcery kind of story. Wow. And in some of these early issues, they would have some color, like in Vampire Tales, I'm showing you, would have some pages printed with red, and see here there'd be a little swatches of blue occasionally in here. Um, just little bits of blue. This is pre-code horror, clearly. I think what they did is they did have pre-code horror, and they either redraw the title or change the name to make it look a little bit more modern. But this also, you can tell, is pre-code horror. One Foot in the Grave is definitely, Tales of the Zombie they're advertising at the same time. Oh, wow. Here's the second. This is Roy Thomas and Ralph Reese doing the art. It's a Solomon Kane story, Skulls in the Stars, based on the story by Robert E. Howard. And then pre-code horror. About half of this is reprints of old stories. I dated a girl in college that looked like that, including the fangs. My friend's older brother dubbed her Chaka. Thought she looked like Chaka from Man of the Lost. So this is a new story, but it's got some blue. It's kind of effective to add a little bit of color. They didn't do it very long. I think it's just in these very first issues. The Man Who Cried Werewolf. And this is a script by Jerry Conway, from a short story titled The Man Who Cried Wolf by Robert Bloch, art by Pablo Marcos. So Monsters Unleashed. Okay. Yeah, buddy. Here's the second issue with Man Thing. Ooh, there's a Gulliver of Mars story. I think Gulliver of Mars started in the Color Comics. Roy Thomas art, Gil Kane, and the Krusty Bunkers. So Gil Kane did the art, and Krusty Bunkers, I believe that's Neil Adams using a pseudonym. I think so. So this is Gil Kane and Neil Adams, basically. Neil Adams must not have been happy with how it turned out. But Gulliver of Mars was in one of the Color Comics, and then he moved over here. I don't know if they had extra stories, but he became a continuing character with this issue. Look at this werewolf tearing a guy apart. See, that's the kind of thing you'd see in the Warren magazines that you couldn't do in the Color Marvel horror comics. This has Steve Skeets as the writer, George Tuscan pencils, Klaus Janson inks. A lot of great art, as I've told you. Preview, The Son of Satan. So here they're previewing how the Son of Satan was going to look. See, he originally had a more evil look, and by the time they put the comic out, he had blonde hair, and which I think was a good move to make the Son of Satan look too evil. Yeah, that's what they were proposing, I guess. But making him blonde was, I think, a better I don't know what I'm saying. Here's a more pre-code horror. This artist is very obviously. Ooh, man, I know this artist's name, but I'm not drawing a blank. Look at this. Drinks and it turns into a woman. Here's some cool Tom Sutton art, looking really crazy. Um, here's an ad for the first issue of Crazy. Then they'd have famous monsters style articles in here, and another pre-code horror story. And then here's your Man-Thing story with beautiful, it's got to be Gray Morrow, yes, Gray Morrow doing the art. And the cover is Neil Adams. Clearly that's Neil Adams. Okay, then I've got, this is my beat up childhood copy of Monsters Unleashed number 3. I've got a better copy that I bought later after this, but I'd rather handle my childhood copy. It's got tape on the spine and everything. I would have to get monster magazines approved by my mother before I could buy them, and this one she approved, and this was when I was in 2nd grade. It has such a great story in here. From 1970, from Frank Bruner. It's a sword and sorcery story. The artwork in this, I loved it so much. I think this is a story that he had done and brought to Marvel, because it's, look at that. It's dated 1970, and this magazine is 3 years later. I think maybe he brought it as part of his portfolio, and then they said, we're going to print that story. He had some stuff published also in Monster Times, like he had a parody of Flash Gordon that they published. Look at this, where he chops the head off of the Ming the Merciless kind of guy. And then there's, this is where I became obsessed with Boris Karloff and Frankenstein. Is from this magazine. And here I am touching the very page that I touched it in 2nd grade. And this wonderful Jack Pierce makeup. And this is how I became obsessed with Frankenstein. And then here's this great 1950s art from, clearly that's Bill Everett. By Stan Lee and Bill Everett. Bill Everett's art is very distinctive and beautiful. So just imagine this package that my mother allowed me to buy in 2nd grade and how it changed my life. There's an ad for Foom, an ad for Tales of the Zombie. Don't remember what is this story? Lifeboat. Okay. More about Boris Karloff. This cool ad for Vampire Tales, I remember that. And then the beginning is this Frankenstein story. Now, I had been reading the Frankenstein color comic that was called The Monster of Frankenstein, but this is the same Frankenstein. Clearly it's drawn the same way, but this is a story set in modern times where the hero kind of looks like Meathead. It looks like Meathead and his wife from Meathead and Gloria from All in the Family. And but it's Frankenstein 1973. It's set in the world of today, 1973. And then I remember buying this one. That one we got in Virginia. This one I got when I remember I got this one at the PX, and San Antonio. Just great stuff, man. There's old Gulliver of Mars. There's all kinds of stories in here. Web of Hate. I can't tell you. There's that's pre-code horror there. And then the Frankenstein serial. Oh well. Oh, what the heck? Oh, then the next issue. I never could figure this cover out, and I still haven't. 50 years later, whether he's rescuing the girl from the jaws of the alligator crocodile or if he's putting her into the mouth and feeding the alligator. I just don't know. The world may never know. Pre-code horror. Man, is it still snowing out there? Yeah, this is just great stuff. And then they had an article on the new movie, Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Neat. Look at that. Looks like a Warren magazine, but it's Man Thing, so it can't be. Man. Art by Vicente Alcazar. Maybe I can tell from the story what he's doing with the girl.
Well, I will tell you this. I won't say who, but I know a person that their child was seeing a therapist.
Oh yeah. He burns the girl's face off. Remember the Man Thing? He who knows fear burns at the Man Thing's touch. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's keep going. We don't have time for this nonsense. Wendigo, I think, is that the same? I think this character later appeared in X-Men or something. I don't know. So maybe this is a key issue for the key issue morons. I don't know. Oh boy. Tigra the Werewoman stalks again. So this has Tigra. There we go. There's a mermaid story. I always loved Tigra. So, brilliant artwork in this. This issue has Val Mayrick. John Romita was the art director. The cover is by someone named Jad, J-A-D. Maybe that's someone's initials. Oh, shit. Shoot.